next game?
Yeah, I think hunting them more in transition. They did a really good job of top blocking our actions and guarding the arc, guarding the three-point line.
The Indiana Fever's emphatic win over the Connecticut Sun was more than just another check in the win column. It was a game packed with storylines, emotional undercurrents, technical adjustments, and a familiar undercurrent of tension surrounding Caitlin Clark's presence in the league. From the opening tip, there was an undeniable sense that Connecticut's defensive approach wasn't purely about stopping the Fever as a whole, but about targeting Clark specifically, a pattern that has become disturbingly common since she entered the WNBA. And this isn't some isolated WNBA phenomenon. We see it in the NBA too. Whenever a player arrives with undeniable talent, magnetic charisma, and an ability to shift the cultural and competitive conversation, it inevitably stirs something primal in their peers. Jealousy, sometimes subtle, often not, bubbles to the surface. Instead of embracing the momentum that a figure like Clark brings to the sport, some players bristle at the attention, as though the spotlight is a finite resource. If the collective aim was truly to elevate women's basketball, the identity of the person lifting it wouldn't matter. But here, in this game, you could see that for certain opponents, it didn't matter. They wanted to be the ones in that light, and Clark's rapid rise clearly touched a nerve. Yet, as has become something of a pattern, Clark met that hostility with composure, poise, and effectiveness, helping lead her team to a victory that spoke volumes, especially when you glance at the Sun's own disappointing season record. But this wasn't a solo act. The Fever's supporting cast stepped up in ways that showed the depth of their potential. Kelsey Mitchell, despite struggling badly from beyond the arc, she was just 1 for 7 from 3, attacked the rim with determination, exploiting defensive gaps left by Connecticut's hyper-focus on Clark and Aaliyah Boston. She finished with 17 points on 8 of 18 shooting, many of them coming off drives where she absorbed contact and still managed to finish. Lexi Hull's effort was equally critical. Her presence beyond the arc forced the Sun to make choices they didn't want to make. When she was left alone on the perimeter, she made them pay, capitalizing on drive and kick sequences set up by Mitchell or Clark penetrating the lane. Sophie Cunningham, ever the hustler, provided energy on both ends and drew attention late for a questionable cheap shot that spoke to the chippiness of this matchup. Boston, meanwhile, had a game that defied easy categorization. Her scoring opportunities in the paint were limited, but she was instrumental in initiating offense through short roll passing, particularly in the second half, when the pick-and-roll game sputtered. Her vision allowed the Fever to stretch the floor, even when the paint seemed clogged. Defensively, Indiana was far from perfect, especially early on. The first quarter was a clinic in how not to protect the rim. Connecticut repeatedly exploited mismatches and poor rotations to score easy layups. Too often, Boston or Dantas would step up too aggressively in pick-and-roll coverage, leaving gaping lanes to the basket. A drop coverage adjustment might have slowed that bleeding earlier, but to the Fever's credit, they tightened up in the second half, reducing those high-percentage looks and forcing the Sun into more contested attempts. This defensive resilience became more important when the offense hit rough patches, particularly with the team's glaring and frustrating inability to convert layups, a problem not just for Indiana, but one that seems to plague the WNBA more broadly. It's baffling. Professional players, many earning six-figure salaries and enjoying opportunities countless others dream of, should not be leaving so many points at the rim. Clark herself was shortchanged on at least 6 potential assists due to botched finishes. A 12-assist night easily slipped through her fingers. Still, the offensive rhythm Indiana found in stretches was too much for Connecticut to handle. Clark's impact wasn't just about her scoring, though she made the most of her limited shot attempts, including some smooth off-ball relocations that drew comparisons to Steph Curry's perpetual motion style. The key difference, of course, is that Curry has a Draymond Green constantly scanning for him, ready to feed him the ball the moment he finds daylight. Clark doesn't yet have that luxury on a consistent basis, but in this game, her teammates seemed more attuned to her movements, finding her in catch-and-shoot spots that produced crucial momentum swings. On one memorable sequence, she sold a hard cut, hopped to the arc, and drilled a 3 before the defense could recover, a sign that Indiana is beginning to understand how to weaponize her off-ball skills. The win also revealed something essential about this Fever team. They are learning how to win even when their stars aren't dominating the box score. Clark attempted only 12 shots. Mitchell's three-pointer was MIA. Boston's post touches were limited. Yet, the group found ways to score through ball movement, timely perimeter shooting, and exploiting mismatches in transition. When Connecticut's defense collapsed into the paint, Indiana made the simple but smart read to pick out the shooters like Hull, who were ready and willing to let it fly. This sort of adaptability is what separates teams that merely make the playoffs from those that can actually make noise once they're there. And perhaps that's the bigger story here. Not just that Indiana beat Connecticut, but that they did so convincingly despite a laundry list of flaws. The interior defense was suspect. The layup finishing was maddening. The officiating was questionable. The physicality at times crossed the line into outright cheap shots. And yet, through all of it, the Fever imposed their will, adjusted their schemes, and executed well enough to win comfortably. For a team with championship aspirations, that ability to navigate imperfection and still dominate is as important as any highlight reel play. In the end, this game wasn't about silencing every critic. Clark and the Fever will have plenty of doubters no matter how many wins they rack up, but it was about sending a message. You can target Clark physically. You can try to throw her off with cheap shots. You can ignore her off-ball movement at your peril. But as long as she has teammates willing to step up, find her in the right spots, and punish the defensive attention she draws, Indiana will keep stacking wins. And if they can ever solve the layup problem and shore up that early game interior defense, this is a team that won't just contend. They'll terrify anyone standing in their way come playoff time.
Obviously, I know as a competitor you want to play, but how are you feeling after tonight's game?
Oh, good. Yeah, it was a very physical game. I thought we only...
In this game, while her shot still wasn't consistently falling, she still found a way to contribute, which at least for now earns her some grace from Indiana Fever fans. Because the truth is that come playoff time, those shots will have to fall, but for the moment it's acceptable so long as she finds other ways to impact the game. Whether that's attacking the rim, exploiting the wide-open lanes created by playing alongside Caitlin Clark, or making smart reads in traffic. The chippiness really began with an earlier sequence when J.C. Sheldon, who has a reputation for pestering opponents despite not being a top-tier scorer, ran behind Caitlin and essentially bear-hugged her. Yes, Caitlin probably sold the contact a bit, but it was still unnecessary and emblematic of the weird physical obsession opponents seem to have with her. It feels like every game she's constantly being grabbed, bumped, wrapped up, or otherwise harassed far beyond the norm. And while basketball is inherently physical, there's no other player in the league consistently subjected to that level of invasive contact. Later, we saw JC again crowding her space, leading to Caitlin pushing off in irritation and eventually giving a small shove on the inbound. This kind of back and forth is fine to a point. I like seeing Caitlin stand her ground and not back down because it adds intensity to the game and is good for the league's competitiveness, but it should stop before it escalates to dangerous play. Unfortunately, later in the game, that's exactly what happened, with opponents resorting to actions that felt like they were trying to physically harm her simply because they were frustrated that she was outplaying them. That's where the line gets crossed. From there, we have Kelsey Mitchell making an impact despite her outside shot struggling, using her footwork and athleticism to create in the paint, including an excellent step-through layup when Aaliyah Boston was being denied entry passes. Boston herself adjusted well, hitting mid-range shots and even taking a three, and when she couldn't finish at the rim, she moved the ball to create secondary passes leading to easy buckets. Caitlin then reminded everyone why she draws such attention. Coming off a pick and roll, double team, she simply pulled up and drilled a shot in her defender's face, the kind of thing only she in the WNBA can do. This is the fundamental difference between Caitlin and the players jawing at her. While others resort to petty physicality, she responds with skill, execution, and buckets. J.C. Sheldon, meanwhile, remained mostly a non-factor outside of her pestering role, which made her constant trash talk even less impressive. Caitlin also contributed some beautiful playmaking, like the pinpoint inbound pass to Damaris Dantas for a layup, and she stayed aggressive from deep, punishing defenders with threes whenever they gave her even a sliver of space. Her 20 points on 50% shooting didn't come from forcing bad looks, but from taking what the defense allowed and then capitalizing whenever an opening appeared. And for those who claim she's all offense, she also had notable defensive moments, jumping passing lanes for steals, pushing in transition, and setting up teammates, proving that even without elite physical tools, her IQ and anticipation make her a net positive on defense. That energy was contagious, leading to hustle plays,